Let's take a look at the Puntas edging here. It's an interesting little edging and it involves some 4-stitch decreases, so I'd like to show you how to make those. One small but important point: when you cast on for this edging, no matter what kind of cast on you use, I usually use long tail cast on. Make sure you space the stitches a little bit apart, so have them spaced with a little gap between them, rather than snuggling them down very close to the previous stitch. You see, with long tail cast on you can actually control the spacing of the stitches, and because the edge itself has to undulate and bend quite a lot, it needs a little freedom to do that. And so if you space your stitches a little further apart than usual, just a shade, then the edge will bend more freely. Here are 26 stitches cast on and simulated in the round technique. So what I'm going to do at the end of each row is slip back to the opposite end of the needle and begin my work from the right hand end of the needle. So 26 stitches is 2 repeats in the round. The vest pattern uses the puntas made flat, but the decrease is exactly the same. But some of the little test ideas I have for you for a smaller than an Andean vest project can be done in the round. So I'm leaving a decent tail, and to stop this edge from becoming ragged, I'm going to actually pair up these pieces of yarn and tie them together up the edge. Round 3 is where the action starts, and we're going to knit 7 stitches to get us to the point stitch. Leave a decent tail of the new colour yarn so that it won't come undone at the sides, and you'll be able to tie it together like so when you're done with your swatch. To be honest, the worst part of the puntas is the fact that you need all these different colours. It really does look better done with bright contrast, and if you make your edge very bright, it gives the maximum effect to the edge. So these two colours should contrast very strongly. So I've knit 7 stitches, and that takes me to the point stitch. This stitch here is going to remain the point stitch. Then we're going to decrease 1 stitch, rather like binding off, by passing it over. So we've got rid of 1 stitch from the right. Now we're going to get rid of 1 stitch from the left, so we have to knit it, and then in order to pass this stitch over this one, I need to slip both of those purlwise back to the left needle and then lift that freshly knitted stitch over the top. Don't let that get too baggy, so adjust it with the working yarn. Then lift the 5th stitch, so the one to the right of the point stitch, over the point, and work 1 more stitch. Now I need to get rid of that. So you get rid of a stitch from the right, you get rid of a stitch from the left, you get rid of a stitch from the right and 1 from the left. And they sort of stack up. There's the first decrease, there's the second, there's the third, there's the 4th. And after you've passed that 4th stitch over, remember to put the point stitch back on the right hand needle. And the fact that all those stitches are a different colour will be a help. Now we're going to knit 11 stitches, which will take us to the next point stitch. We got rid of 4 at that position. There's my point stitch, 3, 6, 9, 11 stitches. That takes me to the point position. Now I'm going to pass 1 from the right over the point stitch, knit 1 more, slip those 2 back to the left, pass this one over the point stitch, pass it back, 1 from the right, knit 1 more, slip both of those back to the left hand needle and pass that over one from the left. And can you see them? 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't get carried away and keep on going. So count them as you pass them over the point stitch. And then I return that point stitch to the right hand needle. And that leaves me with 4 stitches to the end of this repeat. Round 4 is a simple purl round. And to simulate in the round knitting, I'm going to slip my stitches to the opposite end of the needle, take my yarn loosely across the back and purl. If you want, whilst simulating, you could actually just turn the work and knit back, and that would save you two yarn tails at the left hand edge. But this is how it's written for in the round. The puntas used on the vest itself are worked flat, and the spacing between the puntas is slightly different, so just watch the numbers, but the decrease technique is exactly the same. I'm going to cut my orange strand across the back where I carried it across and cut away the orange working yarn. The worst thing about this edge are the number of yarn tails, but the effect is worth it. Now I'm ready for round 5. I've tied my yarn tails up this edge, so leave a tail, and I'm going to knit 5 stitches. Now the number we knit should take us precisely to the point stitch. You know that you've got your numbers right if the 5th stitch there is directly above the point stitch of the previous row. Stitch 5 here will now be the new point stitch. We pass 1 from the right, we work 1 more. Now probably this is the most common mistake that people make when working the puntas. They forget and pass the point stitch over that new stitch, making a little bit of a bound off edge, and it removes the focus from that point. So always make sure when you've worked that extra stitch that you slip the 2 stitches back to the left hand needle. Lift 1 over both and slip that stitch back to the right hand needle. Then we can lift another stitch from the right over it, so that's my 3rd decrease. Knit 1 more and pass that one over and return the stitch, and everything should be focused over that point. Now I'm going to knit 7 stitches, which should take me precisely to the next point stitch. 2, 3, 7, and I'm directly over the point stitch, and then I'm going to make another 4 stitch decrease. Finish the row and work my purl round. There's my punta. They're rather handsome, but you'll notice that we have very few stitches left now. And what we have to do on the next round is increase. So I'm going to use the same colour again, although you are absolutely welcome to change. And the round is knit 1 yarn over and repeat, which will bring your number of stitches up to a more appropriate level to match with the width of the edge.